Thanks for having me today. I'm really excited, my experience and my view on how we were building a unicorn at wefox. Quickly to myself, I'm with wefox since 5 years. That's 2 years after they started. Before, I've been at Dine Deal, PayPal, Groupon, and also Sunrise. And I'm a startup mentor for F10 and strategic advisor for several startups and scale-ups. But today, I really want to focus on actually what exciting journey it was and how proud I am that I've been one of the few people who had the chance to build a unicorn. Actually, I quickly want to dive into my role. As a chief strategy officer, for me, in a nutshell, the core thing to do is ensure that the CEO sleeps at night. How do I do that? Building relationships. That means build up trustful relationships, deep relationships, having the overview across the whole company, knowing what we are doing at what time and making sure that we are doing the right things at the right time. Sounds very easy, but it isn't. I think most of you know that. And the last thing, and this is a very, very important point to look at, is being a contrarian. This sounds hard, but is part of the job and something we should all do. So challenge us, challenge ideas, challenge and discussions to really bring actually discussions and solutions you find to the next level. For me, building a unicorn, from my experience, is based on 3 pillars that I want to go through today, and I'm going to go into some details for some of those points. But what I want to start with, and something I think that everybody can agree on, is that the first pillar is a winning business model. At wefox, we decided from day one to go for indirect distribution. A lot of people challenged us and said, why do you do this? The future is direct and everything is going to be digital. But our goal is to go into the 90% of the insurance distribution that is happening indirect and build up tech-enabled human advisors that actually deliver the best experience and the best products to their customers. If you do this right, and if you use this huge market that is there, in the end, this exactly will take you to a strong growth profile. What does this mean? You're looking here at the CAGR, and so calculated annual growth rate. I think all of you know that, but nevertheless, better safe than sorry. If you look at the insurance industry, it's a $5.3 trillion market, with a growth around just under 10.2%, so a CAGR of just under 10.2%. If you look at the InsurTech, like the small piece that today still the InsurTechs have, it's a $4 billion industry with a growth around just under 52%. And if you look at wefox and what we did, and this is also due to the fact that we decided for indirect distributions and took exactly the levers we implement in our business model, brought us to 128%. And this is exactly the difference we were building at wefox to go and go on and went for and build the unicorn. Also, very important thing, it leads also to a lower than market CAC because we are going exactly for this indirect distribution model. Something that is special about wefox is that we actually created we always call it an unfair competitive advantage, because what we did is we not only have our distribution that I just talked about, the big indirect distribution model, we are also having our own insurance carrier and obviously distributing also those products, but also third-party products via our distribution channels. The big difference is that we can analyze what is the risk we want to take and what are the products we actually want to develop as our own products, and which ones do we want to offer as third-party products. This is a very unique situation we are in, and this is also what differentiates us. So we can decide what risks to take on our books and which not. And all of this together, in the end, leads to our platform vision. So next to that we will be the #1 InsurTech player, the insurance player by 2030, we are also going to build a platform that builds up an ecosystem between insurers worldwide and distributors worldwide and distribution models, as you can see here, that will deliver a unique customer experience and make them be able to access exactly the products they need, the services they need, and have an amazing customer experience. What you also can see here is that actually our own insurer is one of the insurers on the top. So by doing this and having our own distribution, actually we are trying out and we are living this platform vision with our companies already. The difference is that by doing this, we can prove that this is a successful and sustainable model for also other insurers worldwide, and we can bring together all the products that are needed and actually distribute them via the distribution channels that we are aiming for. Then, moving on, business model is obviously one of the most important foundations for building a unicorn, but the other thing is leading with a purpose. I'm quickly going to go through them and then focus on 2 of them. So purpose ahead of profit, but not before principles. Purpose plays a huge role. You need a purpose, and you need to know how you do things, why you do things, and what you're actually moving towards to. The second thing is right people at the right time. And here I quickly want to go a bit into the details. At wefox, we are very lucky that we have not only founders, but also a leadership team that is exactly the combination of this right people. So it's about the experience, the industry knowledge, but also the drive for innovation, the right skills, and putting all of this together. For me, working at wefox means also working with 2 founders that I already worked before at DineDeal. They really had a really successful exit years ago, and now they actually went into their next business, and what we did a few years ago is we built a unicorn. And this is one of the key things, and those people are driving it and really moving it forward to an extent, and they build out a leadership team that exactly delivers this variety of skills and experience across all functions. The next thing is exerting discipline. What does that mean? It's actually about keeping the whole organization and yourself always at the edge of discomfort. So bring you there to really make yourself and your organization grow, make your teams grow, your employees, but even the CEO. So this is a very, very important thing, and if you live this, you will challenge yourself every day and in the end achieve more than you would have ever thought you would achieve. The last thing, also coming back to what I said as part of my role, being a contrarian. Challenge yourself, challenge the things you do, to also bring them, and then also look at the details to really make sure you're moving forward on the right things. Connected to this, and I think this is something, or like a visual, a lot of people have seen already, so-called Valley of Death. Here, I really want to share that actually the hype of the new, as it's called here on the slide, this is actually the easy piece, right? You had a great idea, everybody loves you, everybody wants to invest, everybody wants to work with you, everybody wants to work for you. Then you're coming at the peak, and then suddenly the hype goes down, right? And some people already achieve the unicorn status in this after the hype, but there are not a lot. Right? So when it becomes really tricky is actually when you're moving beyond the hype and you're arriving at a certain point of your business where you have to have a very, very robust revenue model, what we have with the indirect distribution and also the way we create products and how we actually choose the products we are going to take on our own book and which one not. This is actually to keep the lights on, because you need to find the right level of BAU that actually will deliver your revenues to be sustainable and to be successful and profitable, obviously, what's the goal of all of this at the end, but it's also finding the level between BAU and innovation. Because if you're not innovating, if you're not moving forward, you're just one of the thousands of companies in the market that is just doing, in our case, insurance business, right? So it's leveraging this and really making sure that you can achieve this. And I'm very happy to say that I'm 100% confident and really proud of being part of a company that actually has exactly this fundamental things to move through the valley of death and even move beyond being a unicorn and have even bigger success and valuation in the future. The last part is actually something very obvious, that there was no success story without a lot of hard work and resilience. This is something people always tend to forget when they're actually looking at all these unicorns and all these happy people working in startups. But in the end, there are a lot of people behind it with a lot of work, and resilience is one of the key things. What I want to do here, quickly going to go to the next slide before coming back to this one. VUCA, I think a lot of you heard about this. It's something used by different companies as well as the Navy SEALs, but it's actually describing something that it's describing the environment and the situation every startup is in. So it's volatile, it's uncertain, it's complex and ambiguous. And this is something you face every day. So you have to face on the things that you can have an impact on. There are certain things you can't influence, and if you waste your time on doing those things, you will actually never come to the details that actually lead you to the success. Having said this, actually we at wefox, we built Grit. Grit is actually, as you can see, all of the letters are not only standing for a word, but also are closely aligned to VUCA. So how do you deal with a volatile environment and still the most important thing, growth? How do you achieve that? It's exactly what I said before. Keep yourself, your company, your teammates, your partners at the edge of discomfort. If not, you will never grow to an extent what you need to do to build a unicorn and go beyond. And this is exactly scale-up life. This is exactly what happens when you're switching from a startup to a scale-up. The second is uncertain. So, and here comes the resilience into the game. You have to be really, really resilient, and you have to prepare and actually have the picture in front of you from day one when founding your company to move through this valley of death that I just talked before. If you don't have this on mind and you don't prepare from this from the beginning for all the challenges, all the risks, and all the things that will be in your way, and all the mistakes you will do, it's also a very, very important thing, because you will do mistakes and you have to overcome them and really make sure you learn from that. This is actually moving us to the integrity part. So what we always say is like passing the Ron Seal test. The Ron Seal test is actually do what it says on the can or the tin. This is what I just said. Really make sure like you're grown up of your mistakes, you take them, you learn from it, but you're prepared for them from the beginning. Have them on mind. Nobody will have a perfect journey. Nobody will go through it like this. You will always have this journey. And the last thing that I want to quickly talk about is trust. Trust goes through actually everything I said and I told you today. Trust for me is one of the major components, and for me also one of the key things why wefox is such a success story today. We have a leadership team that trusts each other. We have a very strong founders team that is supporting the company every day, building up trustful relationships, and we really have this in the core, in the DNA of our company. Because if you can't trust your mates, you also can't go into such a complex, volatile, and uncertain environment. You need to trust the people around you, and this in the end is the core to everything you do and what you build up. And this for me are the 3 main pillars to build a unicorn. And yeah, as we still have 5 minutes, if I'm right, as it says on the clock, happy to answer some questions if there are some from the audience. If I may just ask somebody to go with the micro around.
Thank you for the speech, and we're proud to host you here. I'm Ralph from SIGTIC, and the question is, you never mentioned investors, and we are an investor forum, so please elaborate just a second about that, how it was important to you that you got the money to do, or what were the investors doing for you?
Thank you. Very good question. Obviously, our investors, right, brought us also where we are today. Yeah, what I can say is what we did and what was a very important move for us is not raising money for the purpose of raising money, but raising money with a goal. So really knowing what do we need the money for, what do we want to do. I mean, every startup is pitching that to their investors, right? But we really went through and said, what is it really what we want to do so we can prove to our investors, also build up trust there and make sure that we have the right investors for what we want to achieve with the money. This is, in a nutshell, the answer. But if you want to talk more about, happy to do so as well, as we still have nearly 4 minutes.
Thank you. Can you share with us your experience? How did you manage the survival mood in the valley of death? What was the biggest challenges and how did you deal with it? Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for the question. The biggest challenge from my perspective, right, and I'm talking as the Chief Strategy Officer today, is that you will face a certain point where to keep the lights on, what I just said, during the valley of death, takes so much resources, energy, and even money from the company that you will really struggle to really drive forward also your innovation. So you're building up a huge, and in our case, right, we are in several countries. We have 1,500 people that are working for us daily, BAU, in the countries, developing and selling our insurance products and obviously serving the customers' needs. And for us, I think, or in general, the biggest challenge for me was really to find this level and make sure that you as a company grow to a certain level where you can really make sure like you have a proper, like also resource planning in place. You exactly know you have a right prioritization, and also obviously being very, very close aligned with the boards and the investors behind that to make sure all of them are supporting to move into this direction, and probably even for the sake of innovation or to keep the lights on, do things that are not 100%, as we would call it, on playbook. Any other questions?
Well, hi, Maren. Thank you very much for a very insightful presentation. As we're representing an early stage startup, I would be very much interested to hear, well, basically, what was your biggest fuck up so far and how did you solve it? Thank you.
Okay, that's a tough one. What to say, biggest fuck up? I think what is important to know is that you really have to learn that you will never exactly execute the plan you had, right? So you get challenged, especially in times when you have everything, you're actually even not even in the hype, but also behind, right? You're like, your valuation is going up, you have good investors, the strategy is aligned with them, everything moving forward very well, and then suddenly something hits you. And this can be everything. Is really be prepared for the situation, because the fuck-ups happen in a moment, and this for us, there was not only one fuck-up, obviously, in our story, right? You always have several ones, and you will do mistakes as well. This can be related to people leaving the company, joining the company. This can be related to a major, like, let's say, impact from the outside. And for me, the biggest mistake you can do is to not be prepared for exactly those things. So make sure your business model and your business is set up to be stable, right? So you're able to handle like hits from the outside, as hard as they may be. And I think this is a general thing that will prepare you for a lot of things that you will face. 6 seconds, so I assume this was the last question. Thanks for having me today.